Yeah. Hello, everyone. What's up, Omar? What's up, everybody? What's up? I hope everybody's doing good. We got a great show for you today. It's a live show, no interview. I usually have an interview, but actually, go over a couple things. We're gonna start going with the debate, Milo's debate with Destiny, which was a disaster for Milo, because I didn't know what the fuck Milo was talking about in the whole debate. I know everybody and their mother has covered it, and I'm late to the game. But I take my time, so that's all right. I don't have. I'm not a big shot. That's what it is it? I'm not a big shot. Let's see what's going on over here. Okay, let me get this idiot out here. Where's the? Why am I on YouTube or no? This is getting weird and weird every day. What's going on with YouTube, man? Let me check if I'm on YouTube. Because I want to be on YouTube. Anyway, today we're going to discuss the Destiny and Milo debate about what is it? About Christian nationalism, if there's such a thing. I don't know what the fuck that is. And it's so weird. It's all contradicting. You got a gay, a homosexual, ex-homosexual or ex-gay guy defending Christianity, and a guy who is a cock against Christianity, and it's all weird and crazy, defending an ideology that is not real. Let me get to it for a second. Let me just check if everything is okay, man. It's gonna be a long show, so hang on. Yeah, yeah. Ah, so in love with you. What do you want me to? Okay, that shit is on. Fuck it. If it's not on, that's not my problem, man. Fuck YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language here. But I know I'm on something. I'm on something. Anyway, let's get to the debate, right, everybody? Let's go. Anyway, this is it. Okay, let me just start it all again. Okay, the debate is Milo. Milo Yiannopoulos, whatever the fuck his name. He used to be the star of the alt right a couple of years ago, before he fell from grace, when he advocated the sexual relation between young kids and adults, which is fucking crazy. And the right finally said, "Oh, we have enough. We had enough." I don't understand how the right embraces such individuals with checkered history. If the right is about God and country and Christianity, what is David Rubin doing with you? If the right and Christians are about God and the faith, why are they taking money from Peter Thiel, one of the richest billionaire who's gay? So the whole idea, there's a relationship that is crazy. America is a funny thing. America is a crazy shit. You could have all these people who disagree with each other, but somehow find a common ground to support each other, while at the same time they hate each other. So let's go to the debate. The whole debate is about Christian nationalism. Is there such a thing as Christian nationalism? Christianity is not a nationality. Christianity is a faith that believes in God, and heaven and hell and all that stuff. And it is an open door policy. Like Judaism is an ethnic religion. They don't try to spread Judaism. They try to talk you out of it if you want to convert. It's just Jews, the chosen ones, and all that stuff. Islam and Christianity is about spreading the religion. So you need good messengers. Okay, so the people who are advocating white nationalism is nothing but a cover for. Or did I say Christian nationalism is nothing but a cover for white nationalism? Because if you're about Christian nationalism, you got to accept everybody, black, white, Arabs, whatever you want, anybody who wants to join the Christian faith. Anyway, let's start the debate. Let's go. I don't want to waste your time.
How dare you show up here? I don't think you can tell when it pops out whether it's going to like or not. Maybe if it's your kid, but I'm sure you'll ensure that's the case.
I mean, you know all about kids liking, huh? Isn't that?
Would I?
Okay, here we go. It starts out phony.
I have to give you some credit for having the cojones to show up in Tennessee barely a month after the bullet-ridden bodies of children have been buried, as a sort of representative for a culture that did it.
All I did is I don't know what the fuck does Destiny being in Tennessee has to do with those kids getting shot. They got shot by AR-15. It started as a fake and phony, using children, using the death and destruction of kids as a fucking prelude to a debate, man. It did not make sense from the beginning. I'm not defending Destiny, but what the fuck Destiny has to do with the situation that happened in Tennessee? He's not a police officer. He's not an advocate for anything.
And offering anything but condolences and sympathy.
What do you want him to do?
I think it's disgusting.
What a phony piece of shit.
I think it's shameful.
Yeah, all right.
How dare you?
Right.
How dare you show up here offering anything but sympathy? Because...
You heard what he just said? He said, how dare you? How dare you come over here and offer just sympathy? What do you want him to do? He's not a fucking governor or a congressman. He's Destiny a cockhold, man. He's like, how dare you? How dare you, you phony people?
You know, I think... I should stand or something.
You don't know what the fuck he's saying. He don't know what he's saying.
We're familiar with what happened in Tennessee. We're less familiar with the reasons why. But the reason was that at any given time in society, there are about 20% of people who are just fucking nuts.
Okay.
And those people will glom on to whatever the fad is for people who are fucking nuts. Right. So the current fucking nuts is trannies. Right. You can see in the social trends when you plot anorexia and bulimia, which was the big thing when I was growing up, against the new nuts. That there's basically about 1 in 5 people who are just not really all there and will kind of do whatever. But when you hand those people, those unstable and dangerous people, a victimhood script, when you give them a license to commit violence in the name of their supposed identities, instead of giving them the treatment and the love and the prayers that they need, you turn those people into killers. You turn those people into time bombs. And there used to be something in America that would protect against that.
Okay.
It was Christianity.
Oh, here we go.
I think it's shameful that anybody would show up so soon after a tragedy caused by the kind of ideologies that you support and do anything but offer sympathy and condolences and celebrate the ideology that has protected us against this sort of thing for so long.
Yeah, Christianity, right?
It's outside the scope of our evening this evening to prove or disprove the truth of Christianity or Christ or whatever. But I'll make a few points. There is no America without Christ.
Right.
And the reason for that is that this is an intrinsically and fundamentally Christian nationalist country, by which we mean it's built into the architecture of the nation. There's no getting away from it. You can lie about it. You can pridefully claim that, you can be good people without
he's like he's sucking dick. What the
Christ.
fuck,
You can't.
Open your eyes, man.
You're just inheriting a system of good and evil from the culture in which you grew up, which accords with the natural law.
I gotta speak this shit.
America was founded, as Adams told us, with a constitution that is wholly unsuited to the governance of anyone but a moral and religious people. And when he said religious, he meant Christian, although he himself was wandered through various different kinds of heresy.
Okay, so he was incomplete then.
What Adams said was that this country is, that its founding documents, that its founding architecture,
not really,
the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, were wholly and fundamentally unsuited to the governance of anything but a moral and religious people. Do you think that America is comprised of a moral and religious people today? Obviously it is not. And what he meant specifically was Christianity, because the way that America is set up outsources
I have
morality.
to speed it up because the fucking guy look at that, he's like he's sleepwalking. He loved our fucking mic in his hand. He loves our mic. Look how it looks nice. He about bring it back memories
to Christianity.
memories
And without it doesn't work,
of those
because
days.
jury trials don't work
And they give
when
him a
people
black
vote with
mic,
race instead of conscience and
All right.
truth. A society doesn't work when people don't obey contracts, don't obey their word, when they're oath breakers. The architecture of America rests fundamentally on a bedrock of Christianity, without which the entire thing falls apart. And that's exactly what's happening. And you don't have to take my word for it. You don't even have to take Adams's word for it, but one of your own Supreme Court justices, somebody who was famously left-wing, Rehnquist, I think it was. Can't bother to look it up, but Rehnquist, I think everything in America presupposes the legal system, the social system, the government, everything in America presupposes the existence of the Judeo-Christian God.
Right.
Without that, it all comes tumbling down. And without that, it is coming tumbling down. And without that, we're not able to give people who have terrible sicknesses and weaknesses and defects the help that they need. Instead, we hand them victimhood scripts, and
Even the
they
House
shoot
of
up
Representatives-
schools, they shoot up churches, whether they are young white guys on antidepressants or whether they're transgender people who are told that it's white Christians are responsible for all of their
Understand
miseries.
how far we're going to.
It is Christianity that keeps us nice to each other, that keeps us being good to one another. And if you toss it out, as happened in 1776, you have a really big problem on your hands because, and I'm going to say something very radical and difficult to say in Tennessee of all places, there are freedoms afforded to Americans that are too radical and too great and too daring without the insulation of Christianity.
Right.
The First and Second Amendments don't work unless everyone's Christian.
Not really.
They don't work, and they're not working. They're not functioning.
Okay.
You can't give crazy atheists guns. You can't let shameless liars say whatever they want about other people in public without consequence.
Yeah, right. Give it the right ring.
There's a
right?
sort of
Okay, let's say so. You can't give atheists guns. I don't see atheists killing anybody, my friend. If you look at the fucking statistic, you fucking grifting piece of shit. Look, he looks like a fucking elephant because he's been depressed. He lost all that attention. He's been eating himself to death. He had Kanye for like 10 minutes and he lost him. I think atheists are better with guns than religious people, even Muslims. I mean, they don't have that idea that, you know, you phony bastard.
unwritten rule that sits behind everything in America. And it is that these are all the things you get to do because we know that you can handle it. We know that you can be trusted with this.
Right.
Because you love God, because you respect life, because you won't take other people's lives, because you'll keep your word. Without that, the First and Second Amendments become a sort of license to abuse one another or to kill one another. They become a license to lie. They become a license to murder. They become too much freedom.
Yep.
Because there is such a thing. And without an underpinning moral architecture, this country doesn't work. And it's not working. And since this country has fallen away from God, the Christian God, this country has begun to fall apart. And that's why all of this terrible shit is happening. That's why all the awful stuff on TV is going on. It's why you can no longer trust.
So one guy who happens to be a trans with mental issues shot up a school, and all of a sudden these are the crazy ones. But you have religious freak. You had a guy who went into a church, into a black church, prayed with the people, read the Bible, and killed almost everybody and left. So shut the fuck up, Milo.
People to keep their words if you don't know them. It's why everybody keeps voting with their skin color or their sexuality or gender or whatever bollocks it is today. Yeah. Because they're not unified under Christ, because they're not one under Christ, because they're not brothers and sisters in Christ. It doesn't matter if you agree with the literal truth of Christianity or not.
Yeah, right.
The founders did, and they made a country for people who did. Yeah. And if you don't agree with that, you don't like God, or you don't see why too much freedom is leading us all to hate and kill each other, and you don't appreciate that we should not only restore Christianity in culture, but require it in public life, you should go to Canada. You should go somewhere else where there's a moral architecture built into the law. But here, it doesn't work without God. And when you don't have him, when instead people replace
You know, I had this video
prayer.
on speed, and that motherfucker's still talking so slow. He's fucking falling asleep on the fucking on the party. He's falling asleep, this piece of shit.
and the rituals of the church with
And yeah, and you have the other idiot here with fucking blue hair who looks like fucking half his size. It's like his kid.
antidepressants, with compound interest, with games and drink and drugs and fornication, kind of thing he does with his wife.
Oh, there you go.
Offering her around town like she's common property.
He's laughing. Now he's attacking him because he's a cock. The faggot It's not he's gay. Is attacking the cock, defending Christianity.
America doesn't work when we behave that way, because we'll all just end up murdering each other.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
That's all.
Shut up.
Destiny, you have 10 minutes.
I don't even know what the hell he said. Did he make any sense to you? Did he say anything that made sense? I don't know. I don't know what the hell he was saying. Man. Let's say, go ahead, cock.
It's terrible.
Destiny. I like Destiny. Go ahead, Destiny. Sorry. You are cock, bro.
Yeah, it's not every day on the progressive. Oh, what? Here?
Good
Yeah?
luck,
Oh,
Mike.
nice. Okay. I'm not used to arguing for more freedoms against conservatives on stage, but I guess that's where we're at right now with the conservative movement, or whatever part of the conservative movement this is. Today, we've got viewers gathered from all across the world tuning in to a debate between me and Milo, where Milo is going to argue that we should turn the USA into an isolated, authoritarian, zealously religious country. I think that technology is a Pandora's box that has changed this country and this world forever, and I don't think we're ever going back to the days of public squares and mail service by horse. Cultural exchange is happening, whether you like it or not, quite literally at the speed of light. Even right now, potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions of people around the world are listening to me and Milo have this debate. The only way to stop this type of cultural exchange is through the militant authoritarianism that Milo is talking about on this stage. That might be through his being against the First Amendment, that might be against his taking away of the Second Amendment, and that might be through the institution of a state religion. This means the destruction of our freedom of speech, our ability to produce media, satire, and comedy, and our ability to communicate openly on the social media platforms we've all unfortunately grown addicted to. After Milo gets his way and abolishes the First Amendment, is he going to be the one deciding who we can or cannot make fun of on Twitter?
Yeah.
Is the world really going to return to how it was before birth control, before women had the right to work, before gay people were allowed to get married, before we were allowed the ability to freely worship whatever God we wanted, or abstain from worship altogether? I reckon that we cannot close Pandora's box. Christian nationalism, as it stands today, isn't even a coherent ideology. Its proponents will argue whether there's an ethnic component, whether one needs to be Catholic or not, and whether one needs to even be a Christian or a supporter at all in order to idolize somebody for a Christian nationalist ideology.
I don't know what that is.
How many more porn stars does Donald Trump need to work his way through behind his wife's back before Christian nationalists stop worshiping him as their savior?
Good point, Destiny.
As small as Christian nationalism is as a movement, even with it being as small as it is, there is still endless infighting. Anyone who's taken a gander recently at Milo, Ali Alexander, or Fuentes' Telegram account can attest to that. And now, with an already fractured and fighting minority movement, some want to put even more restrictions, such as race, lineage, sexuality, LGBT status, or geography on who ought to be allowed to join their movement. The glory days of Christianity are largely over. While the number of worshipers have ebbed and flowed through time, it's impossible for us to return to where we came from. In 1999, almost 70% of Americans were part of a church, synagogue, or mosque. And just 20 years later, in 2020, according to Pew Research, that number has fallen to just 47%, a minority of the population for the first time in U.S. history. We need to be realistic about the coming years. We need to help our young men and women find purpose in the world and stop pretending like some Christian nationalism is the answer. We need to find ways to get our young people engaged with their friends, family, and their communities in ways that synergize with the technological explosion the entire world has experienced. If Christian nationalists want to continue to practice Christianity in America, then I say we let them. However, we should never allow them to take away our right not to do the same.
Right. Okay. I don't know what the fuck he said, but...
We will now have 5 minutes of rebuttals from each of you guys. So we'll start with Milo. You have 5 minutes.
If the movement is...
Here we go.
If the movement,
fall asleep.
such
Time
as
to
it is, I
fall
didn't realize
asleep.
there was one, but if Christian nationalism is not yet adequately defined, it's because nobody used it before 2 years ago.
Because Christian nationalism is not a thing. You could say white nationalism, black, not even black, African nationalism, Arab nationalism. Christianity is a faith for everybody. It doesn't have a nationality or an ethnicity. So this is already contradicting itself. It's nothing but a fucking cover for racists who want to say, well, listen, we can't be like Nick Fontaine, but we're going to cover ourselves with this Christian nationalism fucking BS. So we use it as a fucking a fodder to get what we want. That's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with God or religion or the Christian faith. And to get this idiot to defend it, this is the most crazy shit I've ever seen.
Which it seems to me to be perfectly reasonable. Trump is not a religious leader in any sense, and you're making a classic mistake of people who don't understand religion, don't understand God, and don't understand their own country when you say, hold Trump up as a kind of moral example. Render unto Caesar. We don't expect that our presidents should be like Jesus because they're not here to do Jesus' job. So, no. It's interesting you talk about women's rights. I mean, Christianity is the... Sorry, I mean, you know, I just don't know how hard to go in, really. I mean, you know, you're talking about the religion that gave women consent in marriage.
No!
You're talking about the religion that gave women the right to say no.
Have you read the Bible? You gotta stay in the back of church, don't make no noise. You gotta cover your head. You fucking... we gotta stick that finger inside to see if you're a virgin or not. You wanna go through the whole Bible, you piece of shit, you're lying? Christianity give no... They didn't even give men the right. The first guy to ever created the print and printed the Bible was executed by the church because they said, oh, now everybody could have access to the Bible. We don't have a monopoly on it no more.
No, that elevated them from chattel into human beings. You want to return women to chattel. You want women to be like your wife, passed around town.
Oh, come on. That's a cheap.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take moral lectures on the rights of women from somebody who treats their supposed...
Yeah, but we got to take moral lessons from a guy who's married to a fucking guy for like all his life and has a... come on, man. It's a grift. There's no such thing as a fucking ex-gay. It doesn't make no sense. It's an addiction. Once you go, you never come back, man. That's what I read.
Their wife in what ought to be a holy sacrament as a communal sex toy.
Oh, gosh.
Give me a break. Give me a break. I'm not going to take moral lectures from somebody who, for all intents and purposes, may as well have a fleshlight instead of a wife, who demeans and besmirches her honor, who speaks...
This is what happens when you don't have, when you go to debate and you don't have nothing to debate about, you turn into personal attacks. Now, I don't like Destiny a lot and anything, but Destiny is going to attack him later on because he started. I think Milo just got fucking triggered, and he's, I mean, you're there to debate the Christian nationalism, and you're telling us about Destiny's wife. She's pretty, we all know, and she's doing what she do. We all know that he's a cock, so there's no need for you to repeat it on the stage. You are on the stage. He came to Tennessee to debate you. We want you to debate on the merits, man, so we could, you know, tell you won or you lost.
It's about a woman who should be treated with the reverence and respect and love that we treat our own mothers with. Like she was something you could buy. Like she's something that just to get off with. Passed around to other men while you watch. Flicking yourself off. So forgive me if I decline to take any lectures from you on women's bloody rights. As for gay rights, no thanks. I didn't want them when I was having sex with men, and I don't want them now.
You're still having sex with men, I guarantee it.
Catholicism and Islam are growing.
No, Islam.
In case you
aren't
familiar with the world outside these borders. And the reason for that is that everybody sees what a bloody mess we're all in, thanks to globalization, thanks to the information economy, thanks to the kinds of changes that he says are inexorable, because, like a lot of undereducated people, he doesn't have much of a grasp of the world before he was born. I think if you were to glance a little further back, whether it were to ancient Greece, or Rome, or the Holy Roman Empire, you would see plenty of examples in history, or even, dare I say it, the Weimar Republic. A little bit closer to our own era, in which an era of rampant sexual degeneracy was indeed replaced by some quite stern social rules, to put it mildly. History is replete with examples of what happens when the public gets sick of people like you fucking everything up, breaking everything apart, and destroying all the things that make society precious, that make relationships work. Right. In fact, if you are to look back in history as far as Greece and Rome, you might say that history is really the story of how people like you, given undue influence and larger platforms than they deserve, continually express views that are so far outside of the mainstream and so out of step with what ordinary people think that you have to be regularly slaughtered, and new governments have to be installed, and coups have to be engaged in, just to keep people like you in line, because otherwise we'd all be dead. So I'm sorry, but I'm certainly not going to take any kind of moral lectures from you on anything. But I've given you a few examples of why everything you just said is complete and absolute nonsense. But let me tell you, if your memory stretches back, and as you're at university, you're an educated person, it should be further than 1980. Yeah, you absolutely can put it back in the box. And we must, and we should, because otherwise America is done.
No, it's not.
All right, Destiny, you have 5 minutes for your rebuttal.
This fucking whole debate makes
I'm
no
not really
sense.
sure what I'm supposed to respond
Thank
to.
you.
I think it's a little funny that apparently I'm so far outside of what people regularly think, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure I'm giving you a bigger audience than you've had in the past several years post your cancellation.
True.
But I see that this is what the dying throes, I guess, of an internet provocateur, as he self-described himself back when you were writing on the alt-right, then when you were writing on Trump. Now, I guess you're not writing on guys anymore, because apparently you prayed away the gay. So whatever you're doing now, but I won't get into all that. I'll take the high road, despite the fact that you're one of the most obsessed with my wife's vagina gay guys I've ever seen in my entire life, which is very fucking weird, but very strange. I'll kind of reiterate what I said before, I guess. I don't know how long we're going to do this, but yeah, I think that Christian nationalism is largely a joke. I guess you can kind of see that the figures that are proponents of Christian nationalism, like Christian nationalism, are largely jokes. They don't really have any serious positions. They just sit up here trying to provoke. They really have nothing to offer the public, nothing to offer the public discourse, nothing to offer the people that are, I guess, trying to join and leave these movements, because obviously, as we can see online, they are ever fracturing and ever infighting more and more every single day.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the questions right now. The person who I will direct a question towards has 5 minutes to respond, and then the opponent has 3 minutes to respond to that. Then the first question is for Milo. As we know, Christianity has a lot of denominations, and even amongst your faith, Catholicism, there are lots of conflicting interpretations of the Bible and other differing opinions. How would you, in your Christian nationalist society, coexist with non-Catholics?
You don't have to, I mean, my patron saint, Louis IX, the only canonized king of France, says that, he knows what's coming already. There must be Elijah, I've been warned about you. Said that it wasn't really proper to debate these kinds of things, and it's better to run somebody through with a sword than to hear them besmirch the faith or whatnot. If you think that,
I'm going to be honest with you. The debate, there's no debate here. We don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Even Destiny said the same thing. He said, I don't know how to respond to that because this guy's not saying anything. Look at him. He's like an elephant. He gained a lot of weight, man. He must be very depressed. If you forget about what his looks, the whole idea here is that we have this problem in the United States. If somebody has an English accent, he must be smart. He could be the biggest fucking idiot in Britain. Once he comes to the States, oh, he sounds smart. Look what he said. He said the Big Mac is a McDonald's. Whoa, shut the fuck up. He's not making any sense. There's no argument. I'm not a good debater on anything, but I know for a fact that Milo he has no argument or anything to stand on. First of all, his history does not give him any credibility to be the defender of the faith of almost 3 billion people worldwide, or a movement that claims it is nationalist, or I don't know what that movement is, or it doesn't make any sense. So anything that makes sense usually implodes. So he's not the right person. He doesn't have the message, and he's not the right messenger for tonight's debate. He's not. And I can say Destiny is the right messenger because he's a secularist, and he believes in secularist ideas and all that garbage, cockism, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. But at least he represents his lifestyle or whatever it is that his lifestyle is. But these guys, it's the wrong message. And I think Destiny is a fucking idiot for taking the debates with this guy. It's a waste of time, giving him more clout, bringing this piece of shit back from what he is. Leave him at the fucking, at the ocean with his ring, threw his ring at. This guy was a fucking racist when he was at the alt-right. He hated, it was Islamophobia. He hated trans. He called them confused. He was riding high, but you have to understand, why did he collapse? Milo collapsed because he was a contradiction. He was a part of a movement called the alt-right, which is based on what is now Christianity or conservatism, and they don't see them. They see them in a different lens, and they use them, or he used them, or whoever was using who. But in the end, usually people like that will just fold and burn, and just burn themselves out, because it doesn't make any sense. It's a contradiction of anything. So this is what's going on right now. Wrong message, and the wrong message.
Coexistence with Christians is such an onerous and dreadful burden. Perhaps you might like to tell the Jews, who seem to quite like it. In fact, Jews and Christians, it seems to me, do best.
I don't know. You got to that 6 million Jews were killed in Europe. The pogroms throughout Europe. Jews have been taking a beating for the last 2,000 years for a crime they did not commit. Because according to Muslim, Jesus did not die. So if Jesus did not die, there was an attempted murder on his life. But if he didn't die, that means Jews are not the killers of Jesus. You understand how it works here? So I don't know if the Jews lived a good life. The Inquisition, all that shit they've been going through. Come on, man. Look at the comments. All these frogs, you know. Fucking right wingers will hang anybody who will lie to them. They give them their money and hang it. Here's a guy who was married to another man all his life. All of a sudden, he's not gay no more. He's a fundamentalist. He's a religious fundamentalist. And he's accepted as nothing has ever happened, which is a fucking felony against Christianity.
The sort of situation that you have in the West with a Christian governing majority and a Jewish minority, so that we don't all get too super serious and up ourselves. And we have some good new interpretations of Mendelssohn now and again. There aren't any conflicting interpretations of the Bible in Catholicism. There is only church teaching. And church teaching is eternal, unless some pope comes along and decides that, even Francis hasn't done that he's going to rip it all up. Coexisting with Christians is the easiest thing to do in the world. And I can't remember who gave this example, but if you heard footsteps, this is not my analogy, but if you heard footsteps coming up behind you in a dark alley at night, would you feel safer if you knew that it was Dylan Mulvaney or any church-going Christian?
I think Dylan Mulvaney is probably a soft punk-ass guy, because he thinks... Oh,
right,
there he goes.
For Justin, you have 3 minutes now to respond to that.
Fucking dumb
I'm sorry, can you read the prompt again?
Yeah, sure. As we know, Christianity has a lot of denominations. Even amongst your faith, Catholicism, Milo's faith, there are lots of conflicting interpretations of the Bible. How would your Christian national society coexist with non-Catholics?
Well, I mean, the society that I advocate for is the one that exists today, where people are allowed to worship whatever religion they want. Right. I think that right now, America is superior to a Christian nationalist version of it, because if two different people decide they want to worship two different versions of Christianity, they have the right to do that. Obviously, in Milo's world, I guess the non-Catholics even, I think, would get killed. I don't know where the killing starts and stops for his version of Christian nationalism, or ethnically, I don't know where that starts or stops. I heard the run through the sword thing. Maybe you forgot what you said. I'm not sure what you were doing in the bathroom while we were waiting for you for 20 minutes here, but maybe it's affecting your memory a little bit. But yeah, I think in the United States, I think one of the reasons why the United States works as well as it does is because we've allowed so many different people to come here, worship in the way that we want, or worship in the way that they want, and we should continue to allow them to do so.
40 minutes is a terribly long time to do a line of coke. I was late.
Hold on. Watch why he was late.
I was late for the ordinary reasons that people are late. I was at the hairdresser.
He still had that womanish hairdresser. Come on, man. You know he's still gay as fuck. It's okay. I mean, I don't want to get
I have the personality I have.
But I don't like to pretend this bullshit.
Now your question, Destiny. You have 5 minutes to respond to this, and then Mao will have 3 minutes to respond to that. Some would argue that a society without religion at its core would devolve into a nihilistic society, deprived of any meaning or purpose. How would you prevent, in your society, non-Christian nationalist governing society, from devolving into a nihilistic, meaningless society?
I think that you have to have something greater than yourself to live for, and I think religion is like a really easy package to give somebody that kind of solves for a lot of those problems. It gives you a nice guide for how to view the world, it gives you a nice guide for how to view your family, it gives you a nice guide for how to live an ethical life, and through that package, people feel like they have something greater than themselves to live for. I don't think it's impossible to have that thing without religion, but I think right now we're very politically fractured as a country, and it makes it really difficult for us to have those things. So for instance, there are certain topics that are hotly contested that I don't think should be. So for instance, all of us should be able to say we're proud to be Americans. That includes progressives, that includes BLM people, that includes people on the left, that includes anybody that might, however far left you go, you should be able to say that. That shouldn't be ground that we cede to people on the right. I think it's kind of a shame that if you see an American flag on somebody's car today, you basically know that they're a conservative because nobody on the left would put that on their car. I think that's an insane proposition. So I think that when we've gotten to this point to where we're so politically divided that people can't even feel proud of their country anymore, if you also take away religion from those people too, then they're kind of aimlessly, I guess, wandering from Twitter to Facebook to YouTube to whatever, just endlessly shitting on each other with no common united purpose. So I think that one of the things we need to work on more than anything else is kind of healing some of the political fracture that exists in this country. I think it's good that we argue with each other, but it's not good that we are relentlessly banning people from every platform so that we're all kind of like gathering in different areas and we're not even able to have conversations with each other in the same reality anymore.
100%.
Just look at the societies that Christians build.
Oh.
I mean, earlier he says, you get rid of the First Amendment, and there goes satire. Again, apparently a memory that doesn't stretch back before 1980. Because I think most of the best satirists were Christian Europeans, weren't they? And before that, they were pagans. And, we live in a very Hellenistic kind of a inheritance, and it was just complete and total bollocks. And you've been doing a lot of complete and total bollocks, assigning positions to me that I don't hold, and saying, he wants to murder everyone, he wants to kill all the blacks.
What the fuck was that?
No. Look at the societies that Christians build. Look at the things they build. In Catholic theology, there's a thing called the Transcendentals, and it's supposedly the things that all souls have in common, that all people yearn for, and which brings us closer to an understanding of God. Now, opinions differ on how many of these things there are, but the core three that everyone agrees on is beauty, truth, and goodness. And it seems to me that if you look at the frescoes in Italy,
Right.
or you listen to German composers, or look at Dutch painting, that we in Western Christian Europe have done a pretty good job of embracing beauty, truth, and goodness, and also self-sacrifice and sacrifice for love, which is the central image of Christianity. Feuerbach, the philosopher who was not a Christian, did not like Christians at all, said that you can sort of tell what a culture's all about from its religion's kind of central symbol. Ours is Christ on the cross, dying for someone you love. It's Tristan and Isolde. It's all the things that we think are most noble. It's sending people to war to die for their country. Right. All of those values, all those things we love, rest on the image of Christ on the cross.
All right.
We are good only because we have learned goodness from Christianity. And we can insist in a prideful way that, no, I'm good because I made myself good, because I got there through reason. All right, mate. Just look at the societies that Christians build, and you tell me where you want to live. Is it Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Is it the Congo? Is it...
The Congo? That was a dick move right there. Abu Dhabi is beautiful. If you go there, man. Yeah.
Sparta? Or is it Western Europe, maybe 50 years ago? I know where I'd rather be.
All right, last question for Milo, and you'll have 5 minutes to respond to this, and Destiny will have 3 minutes to respond to that. Some would argue that societies governed under one faith can devolve into tyranny. How would you prevent a Second Inquisition or a Soviet-style dictatorship with them forcing people to proclaim their allegiance to the state and faith?
Well, the Soviets are crap because they failed. I mean, they failed to do what America has accomplished, which is have people thank you for their enslavement and ask for more chains. The Soviet Union never really achieved that, but America has, with prescription drugs and all the other things that people are addicted to. I mean, everybody in this room is dependent on a cocktail, a little package, a little consumer package of things that get them through, whether it's their credit cards or gaming or whatever, passing your wife around. These are the things that sort of get you through life. I'm not terribly concerned about preventing another Inquisition. I think that'd be quite a good idea. Got a pretty bad rap, just like the Crusades does. I mean, you won't hear this from dishonest people who throw accusations at, without really listening to the arguments of their opponents and who aren't educated prior to 1980. But the Crusades were a defensive war.
Fuck you. How is the Crusade Wars defensive if we had to go all the way to the Middle East, like 3-4 months journeys to fight people that we don't know? Because I'm from the Middle East, and the Crusade were not a defensive war. There was an attack on the people of that region, on Jews and Muslims. Look at the 1097 attack on Jerusalem when they killed everybody inside Jerusalem. That the blood was up to their knees, man, like a river of blood, man. No defensive war. It was a dumb war. The Crusade was nothing but the popes, religious extremism. The popes were going crazy. They thought they had this absolute power, and absolute power corrupts. They were sending all these young Europeans to die in the name of God and Jesus and glories and heaven. After they finished their men, they had the children's crusade, and they sent all these kids to be killed and murdered in a different land. So here we go, there, right there. Let me get this back over here. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, let's see what he's saying now, this idiot.
The Inquisition wasn't all that it's been said to be. I don't have an enormous problem with us wandering around and making sure people aren't murdering each other in the womb and making, sitting back and making money off the poor, landlords in Brooklyn. I don't have a terrible problem with that.
I live in Brooklyn. What you said about Brooklyn, punk? What did you say about Brooklyn, huh? Don't talk about Brooklyn like that, all right? Brooklyn, rent. Shut up.
I think that protecting against tyranny is the thing that America should be most concerned with at the moment.
Right.
I think an urgent, strict, and perhaps stern realignment to a much more conventional morality would make everybody happier. And I don't think that anyone in this room can honestly say that America is better now than it was when most people were going to church or at least God-fearing.
Well, listen.
It isn't better.
America is a beautiful country right now. We have some economic income disparity and some issue with wealth distribution. But overall, it is a beautiful country. We have good life. We own homes. We own cars. We're doing all right, Milo. We're doing all right. Go back. Look at that ugly. Why does he do his face like that? All this shit. Go back to Britain, man. We're doing good. All the Canadian extremists, get the fuck out of America. All the extremist British, Russell Brands, all these assholes, go back home. We're all right? We have enough crazies in our country.
And you don't have to be a Christian to participate in a Christian society. Christians are the best of all at letting people in, sometimes too much. Sometimes the people that come in end up messing everything up.
Yeah, taking advantage, huh?
You don't have to be a Christian to benefit from a Christian society, and lots of people in this room have done exactly that. But when you take God out and things start to fall apart, you end up in a world nobody wants to live in. And we are in. Sorry?
What year? Like, you're referring to a traditional Christianity.
What do you mean?
Like, you're referring to a traditional Christianity.
Oh, well, I mean, if I had my way, I'd go back to about 1200.
What a fucking idiot. You'll be dead because they're not going to let you live a long time taking up
lots
the
of
butt.
propagandists in university departments call it the Dark Ages. Well, it's a conversation for another day, really, but that seems to me it was quite a nice time to live. And I think that you would find, if you care about this kind of thing, if you do care about things above and beyond yourself, if you care about where we go afterwards, if you care about leaving a good legacy, if you care about being good to the people around you, I think a lot more people in 1400 got into heaven each year than do now. And I don't think you have to be a Christian to accept that that's because we're not nice anymore. And we're not good to each other. And the reason for that is the failing moral architecture and underpinning of society, which was required by the founders, or this stuff doesn't function. It's not.
All right, Destiny, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Can you hit me up with that prompt again?
Some would argue that societies governed under one faith can devolve into tyranny. How would you prevent a second Inquisition or a Soviet-style dictatorship where people have to proclaim their allegiance to the state and faith?
I mean, it's kind of a hard question for me to answer because I'm not advocating for Christian nationalism, but I would say obviously we should be allowed to carry on as we are now, where everybody's allowed to choose what God they want to worship, choose the lifestyle they want to live, as long as they're not encroaching on the freedoms of other people. I think you should continue to have the right to do that. So it's my argument in the negative. Also, I do think it's kind of funny that Milo pointed out that everybody in here is addicted to consumerist packaging, when I'm pretty sure that bag is worth like 10 times more than my entire outfit.
It is. It is.
All right, now we will do the last question for you, Destiny, and then we'll go to the Q&A/crossfire. Some would argue that most people are naturally drawn to some sort of faith or belief in a higher power. How would you prevent your society from inevitably becoming a religious society and thus being run by the exact same organizing faith or ideas that you want to stop?
I mean, I think the important thing is for people to have something bigger than themselves to live for. I don't think it has to be religion, but if it was religion, I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing in the world. I think that the defining aspect of the United States is that a lot of people with contradictory ideas can exist within the same geographic borders, governed by the same legal system, voting on the same politicians, and somehow finding a way to make all of that work. I think we've done it for hundreds of years. I think we do it better than any other country on the planet. Right now, today, not before 1980, not in the 1200s, but today in 2023, I think we have an incredibly diverse country of people, all sorts of creeds, all sorts of ethnicities, all sorts of different types of people that seem to be living together and making it work. I think we have problems right now, like I mentioned earlier, with the political division. And I think that that's a real problem that we need to combat, but I think we need to do it by having honest conversations about what we can do to move forward, not by talking to people that want to look back hundreds or thousands of years to what society used to look like before there was Gucci and hairdressers.
I could live without both if it meant that you would be left on a mountainside somewhere, your parents wondering which god they'd pissed off, which is exactly what would have happened in a pre-Christian civilization to something like you.
Probably would have left the gays there before people like me.
Well, I don't think you can tell when it pops out whether it's going to like or not. Maybe if it's your kid, but I'm sure you'll ensure that's the case.
I mean, you'd know all about kids liking, huh? Isn't that?
Would I? Would I?
Hold your pearl.
Would I? Tell us more about that. Would I? Because that's a pretty big allegation. Would I?
Would you what?
Would I know about that?
Well, seems like it. Isn't that what you got canceled for?
Yeah.
No, I got canceled for talking about the fact that I was a victim of clerical sexual abuse.
About like little boys liking, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
I
Well, yeah.
remember.
You got there eventually. It's okay.
Okay.
I can tell you're coming down right now, but I'll walk you through the rest of my jokes if you need me to.
No, fair enough. No, okay. You're bringing it. Fine. It's just a shame Father Michael's dead. He would have liked that.
Sorry, guys. I have the AC on. It's hot as hell. I don't know. It's a freaky weather.
I think if I don't know that it makes me an expert on kids liking dick being raped by a priest, but if you want some comedy lessons afterwards, I'm happy to give you 20 minutes. What was the question? I'm sorry, I was so bored.
What the fuck? It's like he's in pain.
The question
man.
was, some would argue that most
that
people
shit
are
out his
naturally
ass.
drawn to some sort of faith or belief in a higher power. How would you, Destiny, prevent your society from inevitably becoming a religious society and thus being run by the same organizing faith ideas?
I think it's a bit lazy to say, as people often do, that we now have a kind of alternate sort of progressive religion. I don't think that progressivism really functions like a religion. It's true that when you take God out of things, you don't just sort of, get rid of him in the same way that when you get rid of a king, you don't really get rid of the king. You still are ruled by people that you have no power over. The difference is that in America, you don't know their names because they lurk behind that flag, rubbing their hands and making money off you and getting you addicted to things.
All right.
You don't know their names, so you can't assassinate them. One reason monarchy is better.
This guy looks like he got bad feet or something, or stepped on a fucking glass or
Sorry,
something.
one question.
He has no memory, man.
Oh, it was about how do you prevent it from sliding? Yeah, I think it's lazy when people say,
Destiny's
"Oh,
having
we've
fun
replaced
there.
kind of,
He's like,
one
he's playing
religion with
video games.
progressive
Look at
religion."
Destiny.
It's true that when God
Texting
moves
people.
out, that other things move in. You don't just kind of get rid of it and now everyone's happy and now everyone can just be nice to each other. That yearning that you've acknowledged that we all have has got to be satisfied by something. So if you take the Christian God out, something worse moves in because there isn't anything better than that. There isn't anything better than that for organizing society. There isn't anything better than that for teaching people how to behave to one another. There isn't anything better than that objectively, practically, and empirically. So things do move in, but progressivism of the type that he likes doesn't function like a religion because all religions have one thing in common that his political orthodoxy doesn't, and that's salvation and forgiveness. Because there is no forgiveness for people who are cancelled, whether or not they were responsible for what happened to them and were trying to make sense of an abuse experience, or whether they said something that they shouldn't have said. There's no way back. There's no forgiveness. There's no redemption, and that's the thing that all religions, except for this orthodoxy, seem to have in common. So I think it's a bit lazy to say that one religion gets replaced by another, but it is definitely true that you cannot simply chop off the top of the pyramid and expect everything to be fine. Something worse.
All right, go to fucking sleep, man. He put us to sleep with that shit. All right, there you have it. I didn't go through the whole fucking debate because nobody wants to hear all that shit. Because that shit was